Abdullah, a seasoned falconer, had always felt at home in the rugged expanses of the Tianshan Mountains. For over 60 years, he'd navigated its craggy peaks and dense forests, his eagle Sharu always by his side. The bond between the two was forged in the fires of countless hunts, each one a test of skill, endurance, and trust. On this particular morning, as the first rays of dawn pierced through the dense mountain fog, Abdullah prepared for a hunt unlike any other. Word had spread of a cunning wolf that had been terrorizing the local herds, outwitting traps and eluding hunters with ease. The villagers had come to Abdullah, knowing that if anyone could outmatch this wily beast, it was him and Sharu. As he mounted his horse, Sharu perched confidently on his arm, Abdullah couldn't help but feel the weight of the task ahead. The wolf was no ordinary creature, it was said to possess an intelligence that bordered on the supernatural, capable of predicting a hunter's moves before they were even made. Abdullah's old friend, Arslan, a retired tracker who lived in the mountains, had shared tales of the wolf's exploits. Arslan had once been a formidable hunter himself, but age had slowed him, forcing him to retire. Yet, his sharp eyes and vast knowledge of the mountains were invaluable. Arslan joined Abdullah for this hunt, bringing along his grandson, Timur, a promising young tracker eager to learn the ways of the wild. As they rode deeper into the mountains, the air grew colder, and the terrain more treacherous. The horses struggled over rocky outcrops, and the wind howled through narrow valleys, carrying with it the distant howls of wolves. Sharu remained calm, his golden eyes scanning the horizon, ever watchful, ever ready. Their first encounter with the wolf was almost their last. It was a flash of movement, a blur of fur, and then silence. The wolf had circled around them, unseen and unheard, before darting across their path with incredible speed. Sharu launched himself into the air, wings beating furiously as he chased the wolf through the trees. But the wolf was too fast, disappearing into the underbrush as quickly as it had appeared. Abdullah's heart raced. This was no ordinary wolf. It was as if the creature was toying with them, testing their resolve. They pressed on, determined not to let the wolf win this game of cat and mouse. As night fell, they made camp near a frozen lake. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the snow-covered ground. They sat around a small fire, discussing their strategy for the next day. Arslan shared stories of his younger days, his voice filled with pride and a hint of sadness for the adventures he could no longer undertake. Suddenly, Sharu let out a sharp cry, his eyes fixed on a dark figure moving along the edge of the camp. Abdullah grabbed his rifle, and Timur drew his knife, but the figure stepped into the light, revealing itself to be a lone traveler. The man introduced himself as Khalid, a trader who had lost his way in the mountains. He was lean, with sharp features and a steely gaze. Abdullah was wary, but he offered Khalid food and shelter for the night. As they ate, Khalid spoke of the wolf, claiming to have seen it up close. He described it as a beast larger than any he had ever seen, with eyes that glowed in the dark and a coat as black as midnight. Abdullah listened intently, suspecting there was more to Khalid than he let on. The next morning, they set out again, with Khalid accompanying them. His knowledge of the area proved useful, guiding them through hidden paths and past dangerous cliffs. Yet, Abdullah couldn't shake the feeling that Khalid was hiding something. As they approached a dense forest, Sharu suddenly took flight, his powerful wings cutting through the air as he soared high above the trees. The group followed, knowing that Sharu had spotted their prey. The wolf was waiting for them in a small clearing, its silver fur shimmering in the dappled sunlight. It stared at them, unafraid, as if daring them to make the first move. Khalid stepped forward, his hand on his sword, but Abdullah stopped him. This was between Sharu and the wolf. The eagle circled above, his keen eyes locked on the wolf. With a loud cry, Sharu dove, his talons extended as he aimed for the wolf's throat. The wolf sprang into action, darting to the side with a speed that defied belief. Sharu missed his mark, but he quickly recovered, wheeling around for another attack. The wolf lunged at the eagle, its jaws snapping inches from Sharu's wing, but Sharu was too quick, pulling up just in time. The battle was fierce, with neither predator willing to give an inch. Sharu used his aerial advantage, swooping down in rapid strikes, while the wolf relied on its agility and cunning, dodging each attack with ease. But Sharu was relentless, wearing down the wolf with each pass. Finally, as the wolf prepared to leap once more, Sharu made his move. He feigned a dive, causing the wolf to miscalculate its jump. As the wolf leapt into the air, Sharu changed direction mid-flight, slamming into the wolf with the full force of his powerful body. The impact knocked the wolf to the ground, and before it could recover, Sharu's talons found their mark, digging deep into the wolf's flesh. The wolf let out a final, pitiful howl before going still. Sharu stood over his fallen foe, his chest heaving with exertion, but his eyes gleaming with victory. Abdullah and the others approached cautiously, awed by the sight before them. Khalid stepped forward, his earlier bravado gone, replaced by a deep respect for the old falconer and his eagle. "You and your eagle are truly a force of nature, Abdullah," he said quietly. Abdullah nodded, his eyes never leaving Sharu. "It's not about force," he replied. "It's about trust, understanding, and respect for the wild. Sharu and I, we're just part of this world. We don't conquer it, we survive in it, together." With the wolf defeated, the group made their way back to the village. Word of their victory spread quickly, and the villagers welcomed them with open arms. But for Abdullah, the greatest reward was the knowledge that he had upheld the traditions of his ancestors and passed them on to the next generation. As he watched Timur and Sharu together, he knew that the legacy of the falconer would continue, carried on by those who understood the true bond between man and nature. As the village celebrated their return, Abdullah took a moment to reflect on the journey. The mountains, with their unforgiving terrain and hidden dangers, had once again proven that survival required more than just strength, it demanded wisdom and harmony with nature. Later that evening, as the fire crackled and stories of the hunt were shared, Abdullah called Timur and Izzat to his side. He handed Izzat a small, handcrafted lure. "This is yours now," he said. "One day, you'll train your own eagle. And when you do, remember, it's the bond between you that will make you strong." With Sharu perched silently nearby, the old falconer knew that the future was in good hands. The mountains would always be wild and unpredictable, but as long as there were those like Timur, Izzat, and Sharu, the ancient traditions would live on, thriving amidst the untamed beauty of the Tianshan.